Happy Easter, brothers and sisters. Easter is a day of profound spiritual significance. But most people miss the real significance because they're only focused on the Easter story. The Easter story tells of how a messianic figure named Jesus was arrested, tried, and crucified. And 3 days later, when his female followers came to anoint his body for burial, they found an empty tomb. Later, his disciples began to have experiences where Jesus appeared to them. He talked to them and ate with them to confirm that he had in fact been raised from the dead and had victory over death. This is the Easter story. The Easter story is about a specific historical event that occurred in Israel 2,000 years ago. Easter is the commemoration of this past event. Now, commemoration is about remembering. But by limiting our celebration to a commemoration, we miss the opportunity to experience resurrection in our own lives. So what I'm trying to make clear today is that a best self Easter is about resurrection, not just the resurrection. Resurrection has to do with renewal, rebirth, transformation, rising to new life, new hope, and new possibilities. Resurrection is actually the essence of all religion. Every prayer, every worship service, every ritual is really about resurrection, trying to find new life, new hope, and new possibilities through the power of God. The oldest formal religion in the world is that of Kemet, or Egypt. In it, the central figure, Osiris, is resurrected. Other religions around the world that predate Christianity by thousands of years have resurrection as a central theme. In Sumerian religion, Tammuz is resurrected. In Hindu religion, Krishna and Ganesha are resurrected. In Fijian religion, Attis is resurrected. In Tibetan religion, Idra is resurrected. In Java, Witoba is resurrected. In Greek religion, Dionysus and Persephone are resurrected. In Norse religion, Odin is resurrected. Even in ancient America, Quetzalcoatl is resurrected. Resurrection is a universally accepted spiritual reality. And in all these religions and all these cultures in all parts of the world, their resurrection beliefs are based on the observance of the natural world. It all started with our African ancestors who created religion before the dawn of recorded history. You see, in nature, they saw a resurrecting force behind everything. The bright sun of day dies into the darkness of night, only to rise again in a new day. Trees die in the fall, shedding their leaves, only to rise again, to bud and bloom anew in the spring. The moon disappears little by little daily, only to rise again, full and bright, 29 and a half days later. Flowers die at the end of their season, only to rise again and reach for the sky in the spring. Animals disappear and hibernate through the winter, only to rise again when the season changes. This is why resurrection observances around the world occur in the spring, when the whole natural world is rising again. Our African ancestors figured out that God was the unseen, intelligent, resurrecting power behind the natural world they could see. As a result of their observation, they did not think of God as a man, a big man, or anything like that, but as an underlying force that is the source and substance of everything. The source of everything, the substance of everything. A God as ubiquitous as sunlight and as ever-present as air. A God in which we live, move, and have our being. This is why the Africans said a person looking for God was like a fish looking for water. They're saying we exist in a spiritual ocean, and that ocean is God. We're talking about a God that is not a separate being, not even a supreme being, but being itself. And we are human beings because we are aspects of that God. So in essence, we are divine human beings. As sure as I be divine. Understanding this opens us up to the resurrection experience. Resurrection reveals more about the nature of God than anything else. God is the power that raises up, that renews, that restores, that heals, that transforms, that revives, that delivers and overcomes. God resurrects dead hopes, dead dreams, dead possibilities, dead opportunities, dead relationships. God is the resurrecting force in the world, always seeking to give us new life, new hope, and new possibilities. Therefore, there are resurrection possibilities available to all of us everywhere, all the time. This resurrecting power is not just all around us, it also exists in us. Our scripture reminds us, he who raised Christ from the dead will also give us life through his power that dwells in you. This is why Jesus tells his disciples, we're all sons and daughters of God. See, we are all expressions of God. Divine human beings are that aspect of the divine that creates. So we are all endowed with an inner divinity. It comes with the dynamic potential to learn, to grow, to evolve, to overcome, to figure out, to rise above, and to master all the circumstances of our lives. It comes with a unique combination of gifts, talents, interests, and passions. It comes with dreams and visions. It comes with a powerful inner drive to fulfill our destiny. It gives us resilience, determination, and grit. This power exists within all of us, but as long as we only focus on the resurrection of Jesus 2,000 years ago, we are missing out on the resurrection possibilities in our own lives. We need to be open to it. We need to know how to cooperate with it and how to activate it, because at some point, we're going to need it. At some point, we're going to face a major problem or a major challenge, the loss of our health, the loss of our hope, the loss of our confidence, the loss of our loved one, the loss of our freedom or our job or our position or our dignity or our self-respect. In times like these, negative thoughts can overpower you, bombarding your mind, telling you your future is doomed, your life is ruined, your best days are behind you, it'll never be the same. Certainly what we've gone through in the last year is enough to create some pretty powerful negative thoughts. We've been through the isolation of lockdown, the heavy toll of loss and grief, the psychological effects of injustice, a toxic election cycle, the shock and trauma of a white supremacist insurrection, and the hypocrisy of another ill-fated impeachment. It's been a year of fear and uncertainty, tension and worry, loneliness and loss, boredom and depression. And these experiences can alter our mindset and bury us in a cemetery of despair. When times like these occur, we need to be open to God's resurrecting power. We need to remember that there's a difference between being buried and being planted. Now, they may look like the same thing, but the difference is in your expectation of what happened next. You know, when I was little, we had a Cocker Spaniel named Frisky. Frisky grew up with me and my brothers. She was like part of the family. Every morning, she would jump up on my bed, lick my face, and wake me up. Then one day when I was about 9, Frisky died. My father took her into the backyard, dug a hole, and buried Frisky. It was the end. That was a burial. We didn't expect her to come back. As a matter of fact, if Frisky would have jumped up on my bed and licked my face that next morning, I'd still be running. What do you expect after a loss, a failure, a setback, a catastrophe? Do you expect a burial or do you expect a resurrection? You see, when you bury something, you don't expect anything. You're saying it's over. That's it. This is the end. But when you put a seed in the ground, you don't say, I'm burying this seed. You say, I'm planting this seed. The difference is in your expectation. You expect to see it rise again and come back to life in a new and higher form. Planting is an act of faith. When challenges arise, it is your inner attitude that determines whether this is a burial or a planting. When we believe that we have been buried by our problems. We are not open to the resurrection possibilities and opportunities that God constantly makes available. In difficult times, you may even feel like you've been buried. But the fact is, as long as you're living, you've only been planted. That means you can open yourself and rise again in a new and higher form. You can come back better, stronger, and bigger than before. If you believe that you are buried, you'll go down and you'll stay down. But if you believe that you've been planted, you can rise, grow, blossom, thrive, flourish, and yield even greater fruit. Too many people run into difficulty and hardship, heartbreak and setbacks, failures and disappointments, and they act like they've been buried when they haven't been. See, adversity is not supposed to bury us or give us an excuse to be pitiful. Adversity is not supposed to break us, it is supposed to make us by activating the resurrecting power within. Jesus said in John 12:24, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and is planted, it will not produce fruit. When you go into a nursery or a gardening store, you'll see seeds sitting on the shelf. You can store a seed on a shelf for a lifetime. It will never become what it was intended to be until you put it in the ground. Its potential will never be realized until it is planted. As long as it's on a shelf somewhere comfortable, its potential lies there dormant. The same thing is true of people. If you stay on the shelf, comfortable, complacent, in your comfort zone, if you don't have to stretch or strain or struggle and grow, if you don't have to deal with any adversity, your potential will remain locked up on the inside, dormant. You see, it's only after the seed is planted does it go through the process of germination. Germination means to grow. Germination is when the power that God put in the seed takes over. See, the farmer tills the soil. The farmer plants the seed. But what happens next is not what the farmer does, it's what God does. Something inside of the seed is activated. Something that has been there all along. Underground, in the dark, something begins to happen. The power in the seed is activated and growth begins. The seed breaks out of its shell and develops roots that stretch out seeking nourishment. Then it breaks through the ground and reaches for the sky, and then grows leaves that harvests energy from the sun, and it eventually yields fruit. The seed has been resurrected in a higher form. And just like that seed has something inside that has been there all along, you do too. You are an expression of God, endowed with an inner divinity that gives you life and power. The same challenges that you are dealing with today can prepare you for the next level tomorrow. If you hang in there and keep the right attitude, a germination process is taking place, and God is doing something in you. Like that seed, your trial can bring forth new growth, new talent, new insight, new determination, new opportunities, and new relationships. Just like the seed has to keep pushing through the dirt until it breaks through the ground to harvest the sunlight, we have to keep pushing through the darkness until we find the light. Our attitude needs to be, I may be down, but I'm not staying down. This setback will not destroy me. It will not break me. My best days are still ahead. I am going to rise again. See, what I'm saying is you can reach new levels. You can break new ground. You can have new standards. You can rise higher and higher because you have an inner divinity. You just need to be open to your resurrection opportunities. We have to learn to use our minds to cooperate with God, who is always seeking to raise us up, to take us higher, to make us better, rather than letting our minds be used against us to hold us down. Our inner divinity gives us the potential. Our positive mindset activates our potential, and our effort realizes our potential. That's how you cooperate with God's resurrected power in your everyday life. And what's true for us as individuals is also true for us as a people. Throughout Black people's 402-year experience of slavery and oppression, our ancestors never felt like they were buried. White supremacy has done everything possible to bury us. They tried to bury us with 250 years of slavery. They tried to bury us with 100 years of Jim Crow. They tried to bury us by erasing our history, our language, our culture, and our religion. They tried to bury us by declaring us biologically inferior. They tried to bury us with the terrorism and intimidation of lynching. They tried to bury us with discrimination, with institutional racism, mass incarceration, bad schools, state-sanctioned police murders, and the denial of equal opportunity. But even under the weight of all the dirt that white supremacy has thrown on our backs, we have never believed that we were buried, that we were finished, that this was the end. There was always something deep inside that told us, even in the darkest days, even in the worst of times, that we were not buried. We always believed we were just planted and that one day we would rise again. Being open to God's resurrecting power gave our ancestors the ability to keep on keeping on, to find new life, new hope, and new possibilities whenever they needed to. Openness to God's resurrecting power has been the key to our survival. We are here today because our ancestors took advantage of the resurrection opportunities available to them. After every setback, every crisis, every injustice, every heartbreak, every disappointment, and every loss, they found the faith and strength to rise again. And every time they did, we rose a little higher. Today, you and me, we are the resurrection of our ancestors. And little by little, as we take advantage of the resurrection possibilities that God makes available to us, we are rising as a people. Now, we're not all the way back yet. We still have a long way to go. But thank God, we are not where we used to be. Slowly but surely, we are rising as a people, so that today 80% of Black people in America have climbed out of poverty. Today, more Black people have graduated from high school and college than ever, drawing us virtually equal to white Americans. Today, Black women constitute the most educated segment of American society. Today, Black people are experiencing a rising level of consciousness that is raising our self-concept, raising our self-confidence, and raising our desire for self-determination. Today, Black artists, authors, actors, athletes, musicians, and scholars are telling our story, rewriting the white supremacy narrative, and giving us a new Black resurrection narrative. Black children no longer believe they're inferior, freeing their volcanic potential and creative intelligence to imagine a new world. We are rising as a people, and we will keep on rising, generation after generation, until we are resurrected to our original place of power and dignity in the world. And once we come back from all we've been through, there will be nobody in the world that can deal with us. Once we are resurrected to the God of resurrection, there will be nothing we can't do. What I'm saying this big, bright spring Easter morning is resurrection is not a one-time event that happened in Israel 2,000 years ago. Resurrection is not just relevant at Easter. Resurrection is how God works in the world. God resurrects dead hopes, resurrects dead dreams, resurrects dead possibilities, resurrects dead opportunities, resurrects dead relationships. God is a resurrecting force that is always at work all around us and in us. As best self Christians, we seek to cooperate with God's resurrecting power by being open for God's continuing intervention. We believe that we can be raised to new life every day. We believe that we can get better and better. We believe that we can rise higher and higher. And no matter what we've gone through, no matter what we've done, no matter what has been done to us, no matter what anyone has said about us, we can rise again. We can have new life. We can be new people. We can have new relationships. We can have new opportunities. We can have new possibilities. We can have new accomplishments. We can break new ground. We can open new doors. We can have new life. We can. If we have the faith to believe and the will to achieve, there is nothing we can't come back from. We can rise again. So get your mind right. Believe in the God in you. Open yourself to God's resurrection opportunities. Refuse to be buried. Keep the faith. Don't give up. Do the work, and you will rise again and again and again. And as you rise, we will rise as a people. So do your part and let the black nation rise. Amen and Ashe.